Hi, folks. So, we have our next session, which will be taken by Gajendra. He will be talking about Python and FOSS in education for Generation Z. And I'll give a brief introduction about Gajendra that he is holding MTech in Computer Science and Engineering in PG Diploma. And he also has cyber law and cyber forensics degrees. He has presented papers, conferences at various other conferences, and he will be talking about today about the various tools which we can use about Python and FOSS in education. So over to you, Gajendra. But before that, one suggestion to attendees: we will be taking a Q&A session at the end of the talk, so you can submit your question and answers in the Q&A session. And if you want to raise your hands, you can use the raising hand option. Thank you. Over to you, Gajendra.
Thank you, Bharat. Uh, Hello, everyone. Today, I will be presenting a talk on Python and FOSS in education for Generation Z or Generation Z. So, in today's talk, we will be discussing about the Generation Z and the BYOD concept, that is, bring your own devices concept and education. BYOD advantages and disadvantages. Then some tools like CubePython, Blockly, VisuPy, Flogorithm, and how you can add a new language support to Flogorithm using Julia as the case study. Then future goals. Now let us first uh, see who are Generation Z students. So Generation Z people are those people who are born between 1995 and 2010. They are more tech savvy. They use gadgets heavily, so you can observe them, you can see them using gadgets and smart devices regularly. Then they believe in hands-on learning, and teachers needs to be equipped with the technology. That is because most of the teachers they belong to previous generations, including me, but I was at the transition, so I can connect to Generation Z as well as previous generation students. Then BYOD stands for Bring Your Own Device. It's a new concept and it's a new initiative. We will discuss what is that new initiative by the government. So with BYOD, you are creating one-to-one classroom. Students bring and use their choice of technological devices in the classroom. So as I have said, BYOD stands for Bring Your Own Devices. So here students bring their own devices to the classroom for learning. So many countries have already framed the policies, including India. So Austria, USA, Estonia, Australia, Finland, Norway, UK. So several other countries, they have already framed the policies with respect to BYOD. So in India also, as we know, AICT is the highest body, that is All India Council for Technical Education. Even they have come up with the BYOD policy, and in collaboration with Cisco DevNet, for securing and increasing productivity of BYOD in classrooms at schools. The benefits of BYOD are that your students know the device because they bring their own device. So the best device what we can consider is their smartphone, and it shows that technology has many possibilities. Then cutting edge devices will be available with students. It is very cost effective. So if you compare the cost of laptop and the cost of mobile phone, mobile phones are much cheaper. Then learning outside the school hours is possible. That is because everywhere students cannot carry their laptops, but definitely they will be able to carry their mobile phones. Then respect for the device. Since it is their own device, they will use it carefully. And some disadvantages are like students without devices. It is also possible that we know that in country like ours, there may be many students who are economically may not be affordable. They may not afford to buy a mobile phone also. Then one more problem is different devices. So in a classroom, we get students from different backgrounds. So it affects the device type and the device configuration. So some programs may work on the mobile phones of some students and it may not work on the mobile phones of some students. And we also have got different brands and different OSs, different operating systems. Then distraction. Student may use the mobile phone or smart gadgets apart from learning, and maybe he may involve himself in maybe chatting and so on. So it may also result into not responsible student. Now the first tool which we are going to discuss is the QPython. So Python on Android, it's a mobile app. So I will also be showing the small demo and its various features. QPython is a script engine which runs Python programs on Android devices. It also can help developers develop Android applications. But note here that QPython is not available on iOS. So it helps us to develop softwares easily. So QPython includes a complete development kit which help you to develop programs with the mobile phone. It is very powerful. You can extend it as you want. Then commercial support is also available, and QPython API or embedded QPython SDK can save your time. Now this is a website qpython.com. You can visit this website and you can download this app freely. You can freely install on your mobile phone and you can start using it. So on this screen you are seeing the screenshots. You can execute Python programs on terminal. It also supports the notebook and it also supports the editor. So let's see a quick demo here. So what I have done is I have connected my mobile phone with the laptop, so using TeamViewer. So on this screen you can see here, when you open QPython app, you are going to see this interface. So if you click on terminal, you can directly start typing the program here. So I'll just type print hello. Yeah, so you can see here that it has printed the message hello. Then similarly, it can also support the editor. So I have already typed one line and it says that hello PyConf Hyderabad, and it's saved as hello1.py. And you can see here play button. So just click on it. It will run the program. So you can see the output on the terminal. Apart from that, it also supports notebook. So I will just open one sample notebook. So you will be able to create your own notebooks here, write the code, write the description and execute the Python code inside the notebook. Yeah, so this is important that if you want to use notebook in QPython, then QPy notebook option has to be enabled. So it's already enabled, but still again it shows the notification. That's fine. So you can explore these options later. So I will go back to the presentation again. So this was about QPython. The next is Google Blockly. So you may be aware of this application. So Blockly is a library for building visual programming editors. It's a library that adds visual code editors to web and mobile apps. So it uses interlocking graphical blocks to represent code concepts like variables, logical expressions, loops, and more. It allows users to apply programming principles without having to worry about the syntax or intimidation of blinking cursor on the command line. That is because most of the coding blocks are available as drag and drop features. So from the user's perspective, Blockly is an intuitive visual way to build code. From a developer's perspective, Blockly is ready-made UI for creating a visual language that emits syntactically correct user-generated code. So it can support many languages including Python. It also supports JavaScript, PHP, Lua, and Dart. So some features of Blockly are the exportable code. So users can extract their block-based programs to common programming languages and smoothly transition to the text-based programming. So we'll see how it works in the demo. It is also available as open source. It is extensible and it is highly capable. So you can implement complex programming tasks like calculating a standard deviation in a single block. Then it has been translated into more than 40 languages, including right to left and left to right. So when you open this URL, that is developers.google.com/blockly, you are going to see this user interface. So you can see here there are code blocks which you need to drag and drop on the screen, and on the right hand side the corresponding code will be generated. So let's see quickly the demo. Yeah, so you can see here there's already one program written. So by default it has generated the code in JavaScript. I will select Python. Okay, so it has generated the corresponding Python code. So let me run it by clicking the play button. So you can see here it has printed hello world in the message box 3 times. So similarly, if you want to drag and drop any block, just select and drag and drop here on the screen, right? So the corresponding code gets generated. You can also write appropriate conditions and so on. So you can again explore this tool later, but again it's a very useful tool because the person who is learning programming, he need not have to worry about the syntax of the programming language. So you can just focus on building the programming logic. Yeah. So next tool is VisuPy code visualization tool. So I don't have actually the exact URL, or I will not be able to show the demonstration because it is not available. But it was a project which was done in CERN WebFest 2020. So for more details, you can visit this URL. So what it does is it does exactly the opposite of Blockly. So in Blockly, what we are doing, we are dragging and dropping the blocks and it is generating the source code. But here what we are doing is, here we are writing the source code and its visualization will be created by the VisuPy software. So it helps us to understand the uh, code flow and how the uh, control is transferring from one block to the another block. Then the next tool which I would like to discuss is the Flogorithm. So Flogorithm is a wonderful tool. It's created by Devin Cook. Uh, Actually, in engineering curriculum, we will not be able to include tools like Blockly. It may be suitable for high school education, but in engineering education, we need more formal tools. So that's why we will go for Flogorithm. So it's a free beginners programming tool that is based on simple graphical flowcharts. So what you are going to do here is you are going to draw a flowchart and correspondingly the source code will be generated in the selected language. And the most important part here is that these flowcharts are executables. So you provide inputs to these flowcharts, they process it and they display the output. So typically when a student first learns to program, they often use one of the text-based programming languages. Depending on the language, this can either be easy or frustratingly difficult. Many languages require you to write lines of confusing code just to display the text hello world. So in India, you also might be aware that we get students from various backgrounds. So all students are not getting their education, not getting the school education in English medium. So there are many students who complete their school education in their mother tongue. So many times they find it difficult to understand the logic and deal with the syntactical errors. So in that case, Flogorithm is a good choice to teach problem solving skills and programming concepts. So by using flowcharts, you can concentrate on programming concepts rather than all the nuances of a typical programming language. You can also run your programs directly in the Flogorithm. Flogorithm supports around 18 languages, including JavaScript, Lua, Perl, and Python, and so on. Julia support was not available, so I built a small file so which adds Julia support to Flogorithm. So I will be showing the demo later. And features of logarithm are it is easy to understand the output, graphical variable watch window, interactively generate real code 18 plus programming languages, then safe recursion, and loops, arrays, and flexible expressions are available. Even multilingual support is also available, but sadly Indian language support is not available, but we can add it. So if you want to add your own language support, say Kannada, Hindi, or Marathi, Telugu, so you have to contact the creator of Flogorithm. You can mail him and you can add support to Flogorithm tool. These are the flowchart symbols which many of you are aware. So I will not discuss these things in detail. Okay. So this is a sample program. This is how the interface of Flogorithm looks like. So you have a main window where you draw the flowchart, and on the right hand side you see the corresponding source code in Python, and at the right bottom corner you can see the output. So let's see the demo here. Okay, so this is how you can arrange your Flogorithm screen so that you can see all the things at once in on a single screen. So this is how you get the uh, default area, and you need to start adding the symbols and code here. So just click on the arrow. I will just print hello message here. Okay, and you can see here correspondingly it has generated the Python code. Now let's run it. So you can click on play button here. So you can see here you are seeing the message at the right bottom corner, hello PyConf Hyderabad. So you can also use this play button, no issues with that. So similarly we can go for another program here. So yeah, so this is a program which actually performs the sum of n numbers. So let me run it. So it's asking the value for n, so I will enter it as 5, and you can see here that it is adding first 5 numbers. So it has displayed the output as 15. Okay, so you students need not have to worry about the syntax of the language. They can just focus on building the logic, and you can also see here it supports so many languages: C sharp, C++, PHP, Perl, Java, Scala, and so on. Okay, so I will select the Julia template to generate the same code in Julia. Yeah, so I got the Julia code here. Okay, so again still it is executable, so run it, enter the input as this time 6, enter. So this time it is showing the output as 21. So this is about Flogorithm tool and its working. Yeah. So advantages of Flogorithm are that it's easy to use, drag and drop and corresponding code generation is possible. It is very beginner friendly, and it's a great tool to learn problem solving skills. It has also got some disadvantages. code generation is limited. For example, two or more dimensional arrays are not supported, and language specific features are not supported. So the language specific feature which we are speaking here is the broadcast operator available in Julia. So such language specific features are not supported. Then presently no support for Indic languages. So these are the disadvantages I consider with respect to Flogorithm tool. Then let's build or add a new language support. So as I have already told you, there was no Julia language support available in Flogorithm. So I have added the Julia language support to Flogorithm. So what I did was I did a very simple thing. So I had visited Flogorithm website, and from their documentation section downloaded the template files. So template files are the ones which will help you to add programming language support to the Flogorithm. So I had downloaded Python template file and just modified it and started using it. It's very simple thing to do. So you can, in a similar way, you can add support to different languages like Rust and so on. So let me show you how you can do it. Yes. So this is a template file actually which has the extension .fpgt. So just change the language from Python to Julia, then specify the extension, then specify the list of keywords. So Julia language keywords were directly not available, so I had to dig deep into their GitHub repository and get these keywords. Basically, this is a grammar file. So you are just setting the grammar file for a particular language as per the syntax of the language. So these are the data types I have defined here. Then similarly, other literals, string literals, numeric literals, boolean literals, many things will remain same. Only thing is we need to fit it into the syntax of that particular language. That's it. It's a very simple thing to do. So here operator precedence is defined, and it will be same in almost all languages. So these are the grammars defined. So if you have studied in your engineering curriculum theory of computation, you know very well how to define these grammars. Then this is text processing syntax. Similarly, the syntax for addition, subtraction, multiplication of integers and division of integers, modulus operation, exponentiation operation, and so on. Then this is another section called as intrinsic functions. So we know that every language has got its own intrinsic functions. So you can add those intrinsic functions into this section. Then if you want to add user defined functions, even that is possible. So you can add user defined functions also in this section. So not only intrinsic functions, so you can also add user defined functions. So function call syntax. Now we also know that there are various syntaxes with respect to the creation of functions in Python and also in other languages. So accommodating all may be difficult, so you can just stick to one syntax which is beginner friendly. So as I was discussing, so you can see here that Python lacks a sine function. So the creator of Flogorithm, he had added a sine function here. So similarly, if you want to add your own function, you can add in this section. So this is a function syntax. Function name, parameters, return statement, etc. And this is how we create arrays in case of Julia. So just we had modified this section. Similarly, the grammar for while loop, for loop, and if condition statement has been included here. Even the syntax of print statements has been included. So basically, this template file is nothing but a grammar file. Here you are going to just define the syntax of a particular language which you want to create the support in Flogorithm. Okay, so yeah, so once you create this template file, you need to save it as an extension .fpgt, and whenever you are selecting a language, you just need to browse and select the template file. So correspondingly, the code will be generated. So future goals are add Indic language support for Flogorithm. Then because I believe that it's going to be very useful, and we have also heard a news just a couple of days back that government has given instructions to the primary institutions to start engineering education in native languages. So in that case, it is going to be a very useful tool, and we can also reach more number of people. Also, we can reach more number of students in the rural area. Then customize Blockly for more languages. So again, you can add new languages for Blockly. You can also make it multilingual, etc. Then more code visualization tools are required, because that will help us to understand how the code works. Then more gamified tools to enhance learning. So QPython is a nice tool, but it is not the gamified one. uh, I liked the concept of Grasshopper app, which was created by Google. So similar apps can be created with respect to Python, and it will definitely help uh, improve the understanding of Generation Z students. Thank you. If there are any questions, I will be very happy to take up those questions.
Yeah, thanks, Gajendra. I had one question around like
Yeah.
you showed all these tools. So, what are the various areas where we can like use these tools, and what are the age groups we can target using these tools?
Yeah, basically, what happens is you can target those students who are coming from non-computer science background students, and there are different apps to actually target different age group people. But I am strongly against people recommending coding below their 10th grade. But in India, yes, any app can be used, because it depends on the exposure level of the student. If there's a student coming from city background, then yeah, I can directly introduce him the QPython tool. But if there is a student who is coming from rural background, then I may introduce him other tools like Blockly. So it's highly contextual, I can say.
Yeah, correct. Okay. So we don't have any questions as of now. If people have questions, they can quickly put it in Q&A or in the chat also. Okay, no questions as of now. Thank you so much, Gajendra, for sharing these
Thank you.
tools and for the session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bharat. Thank you, Bharat, for hosting me.